Hello and welcome to Lead Judges TV. Hello, welcome back. Good morning to you all. An amazing weekend of football plans ahead. I'm your host for this first show, the Arsenal Team Talk. I'm your host, Dan Potts, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome aboard Mr. Graham Brooks. Graham, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, mate. Nice to be back on Team Talk. I thought we had a really nice show going on Same Old Arsenal. Great chemistry we had. I thought it was developing nicely. Obviously, COVID came along and various issues, and we weren't able to take it forward. But we've always talked about getting this show back on again, and I'm pleased that you invited me back onto Lead Judges TV. I think Lead Judges TV is going places, so it's great to be on board, mate, and looking forward to breaking the game down with you today.
Absolutely. Graham, you do a great job. I absolutely love talking to you about football anyway, but in terms of your breakdown and analysis, what you do on AFTV is fantastic. So we didn't want to copy what you're doing over there, but we wanted to make it a little bit different and do a preview show as opposed to a post-match show. So we're going to get into things. But first of all, what I want to do, Graham, is talk a little bit about Mikel Arteta, just your thoughts on his kind of reign at Arsenal, I suppose, because we are, of course, coming up to his 100th game. So talk to me about your thoughts on Mikel currently, mate.
Yeah, it's a very significant milestone, isn't it? His 100th game as manager of Arsenal Football Club. I mean, my thoughts on him at the moment, before we discuss the facts and the figures around the 100th game, is that he's very much got his team now. He's very much, this is his side. He came in the middle of or just before a pandemic. I think he was the guy who actually caught COVID that stopped Premier League football, if you remember that.
Yeah.
So he's had a very difficult roller coaster ride as Arsenal manager. We came back from that, and he managed to get a team that wasn't playing well to win the FA Cup, which I think was a fantastic achievement. Back-to-back wins over Chelsea and Man City, or Man City then Chelsea, can't be underestimated. So he had a platform there, and he built himself time. What they've done is, I think, over the time he's been manager, is they've started to clear out the deadwood, get rid of the players who I think had a bit of an unsettling influence on the dressing room. So those players are gone. He's asked to be judged when he's got his team and his players, including him, who now, let's face it, have the most power at the football club, have now made their signings. And I think since the transfer window, we have seen a transformation after a really poor start, not helped, again, COVID in the camp, and key injuries to, I think, our key two players, Gabriel and Partey. And we're going to talk today, later, about the spine in the Arsenal team that's developing, that looks really good. And he's now gone on a fantastic run. So things are picking up under Mikel Arteta. I think I think we have to be patient with him, because it's a direction the club have gone in. They've gone very much into now youth and experience, and with that comes, I think we have to accept inconsistency at times. So it's going to be a project that's going to grow. I think we have to accept that it's not going to bring instant results, but I've been pleased with the way we've started since the transfer window ended, and we're now pushing in the right direction. But the test, I think, is to come down after the international break. Very important we get this win on board today or tomorrow against Watford, but we've got some hard fixtures coming up, the likes of Liverpool away, Man United away, Everton away, and a resurgent West Ham, who are playing fantastically well at the moment. That's going to be a hard test, and that's where we see where we are. But yes, this is his 100th game in charge, mate, and significant in a way, because if he gets there tomorrow, it will be his 54th win as Arsenal manager. And those numbers, for all that the people that criticise him for, who disrespect him, should really respect him for the fact that he's got 53 wins out of 99 games. If he wins tomorrow, it'll be his 54th out of 100, which in terms of Arsenal managers, he's second to George Graham in that list, of the top 5 list. I think only George Graham's got a higher win percentage in his first 100 games than him. He's got a higher win percentage than Arsene Wenger. Wenger had 51 in his first 100 games, higher win rate than Herbert Chapman and George Allison, who both had 49. You can argue about different eras, you can argue about quality of opposition, but I still think you have to respect that. That is a fantastic record. So I was going to ask you, Dan, I mean, I know you were a bit critical of Mikel Arteta when he first came in. I know you've still got some concerns, and I respect everyone's opinions on football when I'm manager. I think that's fair. Some of your concerns are valid. But I was going to ask you this morning, what for you were your biggest or your best memory of what Arteta's achieved in his first 100 games or 99/100 games? And what do you think is your worst memory or if you look at your best and your worst of Mikel Arteta's reign so far, could you give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for me it's quite easy actually, Graham. To be honest with you, and I have been critical of him because I haven't been happy with the players that I've seen him try and coach or try and get the best out of. I've always thought that we had a good squad, and I've never really seen a style of play until the last few games. But when we're winning games, of course I'm going to credit the manager and the players. So I can't sit there and be one of these fans who gets frustrated because I want Arteta out, so I hope we lose. I don't understand those football fans. They're just not Arsenal fans for me. So when I look at the situation of Mikel Arteta, unbelievable FA Cup victory. Beating Man City and Chelsea for me was something I just didn't see happening. And that is his biggest achievement and will remain to be his best achievement for me. Then when I look at the worst achievement, or I can't even call it an achievement, the worst moment, I suppose, is definitely the Villarreal defeat. I thought he was very, very lucky to keep his job after losing both those over two legs. I really did. Not just because it was against Unai Emery, but the way that we set up with the false nine, with Xhaka at left back. I thought that just destroyed us, if I'm honest with you. So that was probably my worst moment. But my best, of course, was winning the FA Cup. And I can't deny the fact that if he wins tomorrow, 54 wins out of 100, you can't sit there and say that is a shocking stat, Graham. So I'm totally 100% with you there, mate, in terms of Arteta.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, mate. I think just looking at George Graham, 56 wins in his first 100 games as Arsenal manager is the best of any Arsenal manager. But this will be his 54th win tomorrow, so that's fantastic. I think we have to contrast that, though, with his relatively poor record in the Premier League at home as Arsenal manager. So this was a stat that I saw recently. And in 34 games as Arsenal manager, tomorrow will be his 35th. His win percentage is only 52. We lose 1 in 3 at home in the Premier League under him, which is not a great statistic in my opinion. No. I think he's won 18, drew 6, lost 10 of his 34 Premier League games as manager. Only scored 52 goals, and I think last year we weren't playing great football. We struggled with very passive build-up. We were the slowest getting it from one end of the pitch to the other. He did struggle last year, I think, at times in this 3-2-5, the way we built up, which he's changed this year, which we're going to go into a bit later in the show. But we weren't scoring goals. We were struggling to score goals. But I think the key is, just finally before we round up on this thing, I've looked at Mikel Arteta. His first game in charge was against Bournemouth. Our back line that day was Maitland-Niles at right back, Luiz and Socrates in the middle, and he played Saka at left back that day. Torreira was in midfield with Xhaka, Ozil at 10, Reece Nelson on the right, Aubameyang on the left, Lacazette through the middle. So of that back line, none of those players are currently the back line we're playing. So that's one thing I think has improved. He had a very inconsistent sort of like back line in his early tenure as Arsenal manager. Even if you look back to the Chelsea game early in the season when we were thumped, it was a 2-0 thumping. They make no mistake about it, could have won by more that day. Our back line that day was Leno in goal, Chambers at right back, Holding, Mari and Kieran Tierney, who's the only probably defender that you could say now would be part of his back line. So even as going back to the second game of the season, the back line wasn't what it become. The back line now, with this new back line, with Ramsdale in goal, and what a signing he's been, I think you'll agree with that, Dan. Then the back line, Tommy Yasu at right back, the new spine in the middle of the defence, Gabriel White and Tavares, who's, let's face it, has looked so good that we haven't missed Kieran Tierney. I'm not saying that Kieran Tierney shouldn't come back in when he's fit, but I'm just saying we've now got another quality backup. Because last year that was the problem. We were playing Tierney when he wasn't fit. I mean, we're going to talk about it later. Tierney can come back in tomorrow. He's got a chance of playing. But why risk him? Why not give him a little bit longer, give Tavares another game? Because we don't have to take that risk with Kieran Tierney. But he's got a quality, again, kudos to the recruitment department in finding Tavares. What a great signing he's proved in the last few games. So, look, I think the key is consistency at the back. If you have a consistent, I know Lee Judges talks about it all the time about having a settled back line, and we've got a settled back line now. So, yeah, that's Mikel Arteta's reign, isn't it, in a nutshell? I think he's now got the players on board, so this is the time to judge him. look, first 100 games, fantastic win rate, record at the Emirates, not so great in Premier League games, but I think there are signs we are moving in the right direction at the moment under Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, I think you bring up great points there, Graham, as always, and I can't argue with any of them, to be fair with you, mate. They've said, haven't they, judge us on this team. And I did, and I thought, Brighton Palace, not really looking too great. But I saw a better style, the only time I've seen a style of play, and he has got new players. So, talking of players, we're going to bring up one player per stream. I'm going to let you decide who you want to talk about today. So over to you, Graham.
Yeah, I thought I would bring up Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang today in this slot. We talked about it, who we should talk about. The reason I'm going to bring Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang up is two reasons. I think first of all, we're playing Watford. His record against Watford, 6 goals in 5 games, is impressive. And I think he'd be a key player tomorrow. Upsetting, I think we can get at them tomorrow because they haven't got like a great defence, in my opinion. We're going to talk about their 3 pacey forwards who could be a threat, but their defence has been pretty mediocre all season. They've only got 2 fit centre halves. And I think his battle tomorrow up front against Cathcart and Ekon Truce, or Truce Ekon, I don't know if you know what his actual name is, but
No.
but I think whatever they've only got 2 fit centre halves. Cathcart is 32 years old, has been a good player in his time, so he won't fancy Aubameyang tomorrow. And I think they will drop deep tomorrow and look to defend and play on the counter attack. But I think Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang will be a crucial player for us tomorrow. So I'm bringing him up really because I remember his first game back. He missed the first 2 games of the season due to COVID. And then he came back at Man City. We got absolutely thumped 5-0 where Granit Xhaka got sent off. And he did a post-match interview. And I remember him talking that day, quite honestly, about the flaws in the team, talking about we should be doing better. He needs to be better as a captain. And I think since that game, he's done that. And he's done that. Not only has he improved and started scoring goals again, and he's got 4 goals in 8 games, 4 goals at the Emirates, obviously, none away from home, admittedly. But what I've been really impressed about is him off the ball. Literally, we talked about last year, and I know you talked about him on some pods you've done last year, about he looked almost like disinterested. Yeah. Whether it's because the fans weren't in the stadium, whether it's because the burden of the new contract, whatever it was, that was not Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang that I saw for the first 2.5 years at Arsenal. Yes, he was due a dip in form, but that was a massive fall off. That you started to wonder whether he was questioning the project, didn't you? All those things at the start of the season about my manager quickly dissolved, became almost like he wasn't his manager. I thought he was struggling in that system. Started getting linked with other clubs. I know he's been linked again this week with Barcelona. He's always linked with Barcelona, isn't he? I would say anyone who's getting linked with Barcelona at the moment, probably the wrong time ever to be linked with Barcelona. But look, the reason why I'm bringing him up is because he said those words after the City game, and his own form has turned round, and that has led to an upturn in the form of the team. And I don't think you can ignore that. I think he's been the catalyst to the change amongst all the other good things. But your captain leading from the front has a massive effect on the other players. He's one of the 5 leaders. 4 goals in 8 games. But it's his pressing off the ball. He leads the team this year in pressures off the ball. 135 pressures this season. 69 alone in the attacking third down. So that shows you that he's really not only scoring goals again, but fully back on board with the project, fully working hard for the team and putting in a captain's performance every week. His record against Watford is outstanding. He'll be a key player for us tomorrow.
I think you bang on, and I've been a massive critic of Aubameyang last season because I know he had some personal stuff going on, but I was really disappointed what happened at the North London derby. Seemed disinterested. This season, he's looked sharp. He's definitely not lost his pace. He is scoring goals again, and he just looks so interested to try and lead from the front. And his pressing has been amazing because I think he's been guilty of not doing that. A lot of people say, Aubameyang doesn't really work hard. He's just there. He's just a goal machine. He's there to tap it in. We've seen more from Aubameyang this season, and I think Lacazette, we'll come into later, has certainly helped with that also. I think them two together certainly look so much better moving forward. Graham, Leicester was fantastic fantastic. I've got to mention it quickly. I want you to talk to me about what you learnt in that Leicester game, because for me, we started so well. I was there at the game. The fans were fantastic, and it was absolutely electric, mate. So talk to me about Leicester quickly.
Yeah, just quickly. I mean, it was a fantastic performance. I thought the things I learned from that was that we're playing a higher line, so we're being braver at the start of games. We're starting fast, which is great to see. Always criticise the team for not starting fast, and we're pressing in a more coordinated way with Aubameyang and Lacazette leading the press. The pressing is more coordinated. Also, he's getting players in their best positions. This means that we're playing more freer football. Players are in their best positions, able to express themselves. Criticism I've always had of him, it's felt like he's too overcoached. I think now it doesn't seem that. It's certainly coaching the way we play it and the way we build up. It seems like freer when you get into the opposition third. I think that what I also like is the new spine, the spine of the team. We've seen that sort of like really has sort of like come into its own. You know, I like the spine now with Ramsdale, White, Gabriel, Partey, and Aubameyang. That's a great spine. So with the players in their best positions able to express themselves, the development of Smith Rowe, the move now to this new 4-4-1-1 or 4-4-2 shape, the way we build up, I think it's reaping its reward. So that's the 5 things I took out of the Leicester game. Fantastic away performance, a resilient performance, and job well done on the day.
Unbelievable. It really was. It was fantastic to see. And obviously, we move now to Watford. You're a stats man, Graham, and I love hearing what your match stats are. So let's move to some of those stats in relation to Arsenal and Watford. I know you've done quite a lot of research into this, Graham.
Yeah, so I'll just bear with me as I'm going to read these out. It's significant. These are my 6 stats really going into the Watford game. Arsenal have won 11 of their 14 Premier League games against Watford. Drawn 1, lost 2. Watford have lost 6 of their 7 away Premier League games against Arsenal. The exception being the game at the Emirates in 2017 when they won 2-1. Arsenal lost their first Premier League games this season, but are unbeaten in 7 since. If they go unbeaten against Watford tomorrow, they'll equal the 8-game unbeaten run between January and March 2020. Arsenal have scored 75% of their goals in the first half of Premier League games this year, 9 out of 12. And in the same thing, Watford have conceded more goals than any other club at the start of games, in the first half of games. So there's something tomorrow that it could be key. Claudio Rangieri has never won a Premier League game against Arsenal. He's played Arsenal 11 times, lost 7, drew 4. So don't want to sort of like tempt fate tomorrow.
No.
But his record is not great. And I will say him coming in at Watford is a massive challenge for him, but he has got like Premier League pedigree with Leicester. Obviously, he didn't do wonders at Fulham, but I think we have to accept that he's a proven, experienced manager and he's managed in other leagues. And my final stat is obviously that record I mentioned about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and that is 6 goals in 5 games against Watford. The last time we played Watford, we beat them 3-2, which was the last game of the season before last when they were relegated. He got 2 that day. He got 2 at Watford when Emery was manager when we drew 2-2. So his record against Watford is exceptional. So yeah, that's my 6 key stats. Arsenal v Watford.
Unbelievable, and it's unbelievable, isn't it, about Claudio Rangieri, because he's a manager that I've always really liked. I just think he's a nice guy in football. I think
he's a character.
Oh, he's an unbelievable character, and I honestly believe that we have a real gent of the game. And what he did at Leicester, I don't think was, people say it's a fluke, but you need to have a top team and a top manager combined. So for me, 100%. Graham, let's bring up the team news. We're going to go through Arsenal and Watford's team together. I'm going to let you do that, and then what I'm more interested in is where you see the danger men and the key battle in this game. So we're just going to go through this team. So go through the Arsenal team first. I don't think we're going to see many changes, but over to you, mate.
Yeah, I think he'll stick with the same formation tomorrow and the same players. I think he's rewarded players for great performances. So I think the key will be we'll stick with that 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1, whatever you want to call it. The one bit of team news coming out of Colney yesterday was that Kieran Tierney is now close to fitness, had trained the last 2 days. So he has got a decision to make there. Does he play Kieran Tierney or does he stay with Tavares, who's done nothing wrong in the 2 games? In fact, I think he's been more than nothing wrong. He's been excellent. So does he bring Tierney back. I hope he doesn't. I think last year we had to rush him back because the options of Kolasinac or moving Cedric Suarez to the left clearly made the team weaker. And I think Tavares has made the team. The biggest credit I can play Tavares is that he's come in, replaced Tierney, and you haven't even noticed the difference. And that's credit to him. So I wouldn't change that team tomorrow. So I expect Ramsdale in goal, a back line of Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel, and Tavares, and then the midfield pivot, which is working so well at the moment, Partey and Lokonga, and then on the up front, Laka in the hole, Saka, Smith Rowe in the wide areas, and Aubameyang. So I expect that to be unchanged. So that's the team that I think we'll go with. It's very hard to predict what Watford are going to pick tomorrow because since Ranieri's come in the 3 league games, I think he's changed formation every game.
Yeah,
he's a tinkerman. He's not known as a tinkerman for nothing, is he? So, but he started with a back 3 against Liverpool. He got absolutely smashed. Then he went to Everton, and I never saw that result coming. I mean, they were 2-1 down, and they won it 5-2.
Unbelievable.
He changed the shape that day more to a back 4. A 4-2, I think it's more of a 4-2-3-1. And then he changed the shape again against Southampton at home and they lost 1-0. He bought, obviously Dennis wasn't available for that game, he brought Hernandez in. I think he's going to be a bit more pragmatic in this game, so I'm expecting them to be slightly more defensive. I think they'll sit they'll play 3 in midfield, they'll play the front 3. Let's face it, they're an attacking, exciting front 3. There's tremendous pace in those areas, wide areas, with Dennis and Sarr, who impressed against us when he played for Rennes a few years ago. Had stayed with Watford when they got relegated, as is their leading scorer this season. Dan with 4 goals. Dennis and King have got 3 each, I think. So they have got pace in wide areas and pace up front. And King is very underrated, I think, as a forward. I thought he was good at Bournemouth. I think the change will be, I think they'll play 3 midfielders. I think Sissoko's like their box-to-box midfielder, who they got from Tottenham. By the way, 5,000 days without a trophy this week, mate. Did you see that, Spurs?
Oh, lovely. We love to see it.
5,000 days without a trophy. Conte come in on that day and proved already he can beat 9 men. So great start for him. But yes, Sissoko's their midfield general, and then I think they'll play the 2 midfielders that I've shown on that graph there, the Slovakian and the Turk in midfield alongside him. I think they'll play 3 in midfield, and then I think where we can get at them, I think in central defence. I think Cathcart is a solid player, but we got players with pace. If we can get him 1-on-1, confident that Aubameyang could have some joy against him. And I think they've only got 2 fit centre halves. So in that graphic that you see there. That's what I think that their team will be. It'll be a 4-3-3, and it'll probably drop back 4-5-1 out of possession. I think the wingers will tuck in and offer a shield when they're out of possession. So I think they're going to sit deep and play on the counter attack, which will provide a different challenge for us on Sunday.
100% agree, mate. And I think you're right about Cathcart. He's been a good player in his time, but he's an aging defender that I think Aubameyang can get in behind. But we know how we can sort of hurt Watford, but we also know that Watford have some players that can be quite dangerous for us. So where do you see a key battle in this game, Graham?
I think Rangieri will target our left-hand side. I really do. I think he's got his best player on their right, and that's Sarr. So I think it'd be interesting to see, bearing in mind I think they will play on the counter-attack, how he tries to sort of I think they'll be looking to switch it quite a lot to Sarr's side. Now, what we've got to be careful of is whoever plays at left-back, if it's Kieran Tierney, he's not 100% fit. If Tavares is not playing and Tierney plays, and Kieran Tierney, is playing that normal role where he plays up high, they could have some joy in behind. Now, we've seen already, we play the high line, so it will be risky against their pacey players. I know Gabriel and White are excellent with recoveries and will probably be able to come across, but I still think that'll be a key area. Tavares, obviously, if he plays, we've seen already how good he is going forward. He hasn't been tested going back the other way yet, has he? So this will be a test if Watford can get Sarr on the ball. So the only danger for us, I think, is that battle on that side. I think it's a key battle. And I think Watford will look to exploit Sarr's pace against whoever we play at left back. And if our left back goes high, try and get in behind. I see that as a key area down on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, I'm moving the tactical board as we speak because I think that is the area for me that I do worry about. I think Tavares has been exceptional. I really do. But I think that Sarr can get in behind if Tavares isn't disciplined enough defensively. Tavares. So I think, for me, he deserves to play. I love Kieran Tierney. Everybody knows Kieran Tierney's my favourite player. Absolutely love Kieran Tierney. But I don't think Tavares has done anything wrong to deserve to be dropped, even if Kieran Tierney's fit. I wouldn't risk him, like you say, Graham. And I think, Tavares and Sarr is going to be a key battle. And for me as well, Cathcart and Aubameyang. If Aubameyang can get behind, he loves playing Watford, like you say, Aubameyang. So I think they're the two areas for me moving forward. This new formation, Graham, I just want to touch on it quick because I don't know if it's a 4-4-2, a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-1-1, if I'm honest with you. I think it's kind of a bit of everything. But what Lacazette for me is massive in the last few games for his role. So talk to me a little bit about what we're seeing in the front men at Arsenal now moving forward.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing in the front men of Arsenal is clearly Lacaz's role in this new formation, which is key to the way we build up. I think we weren't scoring goals. The key was to get Lacazette and Aubameyang back in the team, and he's done that in this formation. I think it worked fantastically well against back three teams. We were very blunt against back three teams at the start of the season. The key for me is the way Lacazette plays in this role. He's almost like, you could argue it's a hybrid 4-2-3-1 with him dropping back into midfield because he does that. He literally works his socks off for 60 minutes, doesn't he? I reckon Arteta says to him, just go out there and give me 60, 70 minutes. And because he's literally sort of playing he's a second striker. I see Aubameyang as still playing centre forward, playing as the main striker, leading the line. But I see Lacazette as a second striker, dropping deep. And when we build up in this 2-4-4, which I know we talked about on the board, you're going to show that. His role really is to sort of like drop deep to create overloads in our build-up. So the way we're building up at the moment is in almost like I call it a 2-4-4. So what you'll get is Gabriel and White positioned either side of the penalty box with Ramsdale when we're looking to play out to build up in possession. And then you get this midfield four now, which is the pivot is very close together, which is Partey and Lokonga. And I like that. I like my central midfielders close together. Then you've got Tomiyasu on the right and Tavares on the left, offering the width. So that is like our four. I think what we try to do to beat teams pressing onto us is that if we're playing out Ramsdale to the centre halves, my phone's going off, excuse me. Apologise for that.
That's all right, no worries, mate.
One of the joys of live recording. So if we're playing out sort of like what we try to do is the centre halves will be positioned to receive the ball from Ramsdale, and then I think the midfielders and the centre and the fullbacks will drop. And I think we try and suck the midfields of the opposition onto us with the forwards to create a disconnect between the team's midfield and defence. And I think that's what we've been doing in the games that I've watched so far, the way we play out to beat the press. So you'll literally have our midfielders and our defenders sort of like the distances are smaller between our midfield and our defence to create triangles to build up. We try and suck the teams onto us to create space between their midfield and their strikers. And I think the two examples when we've done that this year, the two goals against Tottenham, the way we played out through that press when Xhaka received the ball, when Højbjerg was pressing him high, we literally sucked their midfield, Dele Alli, Højbjerg, up high and played round it. And then I think what this very coached way that we build up now is the way that once their midfield commits up high, we play around it. Aubameyang, Lacazette's part of that because he can create the overload, pull players across the one side of the pitch. We get it into Aubameyang, who then looks to play it off to Smith Rowe, who then drives into wide areas and then gets at their back line. We saw that in the way we scored the goal against Tottenham. We saw that in the way we scored the goal against Aston Villa when the fullback fizzed it into Aubameyang. He spun off and then flicked it. Smith Rowe then is in space. By then, the midfield of the two oppositions are up high. We exploit the space, and the first goal was a cutback, and the second goal was a finish, albeit with a lucky deflection. But I think that's the things I've noticed now, the way we're building up. We've moved away from that 3-2-5 lopsided build up more to a 2-4-4, trying to get teams to come on to us, playing around it. Even Ben White, when he gets the ball, he puts his foot on the ball. I don't know if you notice, wants their forward player to commit. So that, and then he sees a gap and he's gone sometimes, or you play it. So I think this is the way we're building up now. That's clearly coached by Arteta. And I like to say, I've got no problems with coaching a team in build-up and in defence. But once we get into the opposition's final third, I just think you want your creative players to be free, to feel the moment and then to attack and do what comes naturally to them. I think now he's allowing these players to do that. And I think he's putting the players in the correct positions as well. Early in the season, we had to get Pepe on the right-hand side. He had to move Saka to the left. I didn't think that was working. Saka's clearly better on the right. Smith Rowe was outstanding on the left, almost like a left winger who could come inside. And then he was accommodate Odegaard in the team. He moved Smith Rowe over to the right, and Smith Rowe wasn't so good on the right. He's now put Smith Rowe back where he's good on the left-hand side. Lokonga, when Jacko got injured, he moved him almost like away from the double pivot, out wide to cover for Tierney going high. That meant that Partey had too much space to cover. So he's put that right now. He's addressed that. Lokonga is now closer to Partey, and the double pivot is working. Smaller spaces, they can build up together. I love the way we're developing triangles now across the pitch and build up. Clear patterns of play there. And I know you were critical last year of the patterns of play. And I think there was some justification around the fact that the patterns of play, there wasn't a star last year. But I think the patterns of play, the style of play now, he's changed it around. And I think it's come for two reasons. One, he's got the players he wanted to play this system. And secondly, he's putting players in the right positions. So the way we're building up now, this 2-4-4 is I think working. Now, the only thing for tomorrow's game against Watford that I'm worried about, I suppose if, on paper we should beat Watford. We have got better players, we're at home, but football is not played on paper, it's played on the pitch. And I think the test tomorrow will be, I don't think Watford are going to press us high down. I think they're going to sit deeper and sit off us more. So then we've got to sort of like play around a team that sit off more. I just want to see how we react to going one goal down. Because at the moment, the fast starts, the last three games, we've scored first in every 3 games against Palace, albeit we had to retrieve it from 2-1. But we scored first against Palace, couldn't maintain it. It's very hard to maintain a high pressing, coordinated press for the whole game. So I think you have to accept you can't play it for the whole match. But we've scored first in all the 3 games against Palace, Villa and Leicester. We've yet to concede first. And so that will be a test for the team. A bit like Ramsdale, isn't it? I just want to see how he reacts to his first mistake. He's been so good. And I love the way last week when he was kicking out, he was playing along with the Leicester crowd when they were chanting, "Your shit, ah." And he was sort of like mimicking the last part of it, wasn't he?
Class.
His save last week was world class. Michael said it's the best save he's seen for years. But I just want to see how he reacts if he makes a mistake. I think he'd be fine. I think he's got great character. But I just want to see those sort of things. But the way we're building up now, I like it. We're starting fast. We're sort of like playing really good football. The best football under Arteta, I think, we've seen under Arteta, to be honest. He came in, he had a style of play when he first came in, but it was a more defensive style of play. But this is more attacking style of play. So, yeah, I think it's looking good. And this move to this 4-4-1-1 or 4-4-2, whatever you want to call it, the build-up, as I talked about there, the 2-4-4 with where we build up, we suck teams onto us and play around them to create the space, to get our players in space to sort of like be able to play freer. The way our fullback then changes the way he arrives now, he explodes. If you under Kieran Tierney, he was always up high. But Tavares, I think I'll just be interested to see if Tierney comes back in, whether Arteta asks him still to play the old role of being up high all the time, or whether he can play the way Tavares plays. Because when I watched the Villa game, I watched it up high. Obviously, you could see the way Tavares was not up high. He waited his moment and then literally exploded forward to create the overload. It was all about a timed run and delivery into the box. So that was different to where we've been playing. But so in a nutshell, that's the build-up, the way we play up from the back in that 2-4-4 shape. And I think it's improved the way we play and we build up.
100%. And I think what you said is bang on there, because on Thursday I said to Kevin and Lee about how this young team would react to going 1-0 down against a team like Watford. Would it shell shock them, or would they show some fight to get themselves back and turn it around? And that will be really interesting. Of course, I hope we go 2 or 3-0 up in the first half again so that we don't have to see that. But you are bang on in terms of what you said about Ramsdale. I think he's been outstanding. But also what I like, and you touched on, Graham, is the discipline on the right-hand side now with Tomiyasu, but also the balance that Saka gives us, play on the right-hand side. I think it allows Smith Rowe and Tavares or Tierney, whoever it's going to be dangerous on that left-hand side also. We've always been a little bit lopsided as far as I'm concerned under Mikel Arteta, and now I think he's got the balance right with Tomiyasu and Saka, who are forming a bit of a partnership, and also Tavares or Tierney with Smith Rowe. And what I like with the partnerships, not just down the wide areas, is the partnerships we're seeing through the middle. Gabriel and Ben White, Partey and Lokonga, definitely do not miss Granit Xhaka, and of course Lacazette and Aubameyang together now. So seeing as we've got a last couple of minutes before we go on to the kind of predictions and score predictions themselves, Graham, I just wanted to touch on some players that perhaps can't get into this side right now, and your thoughts on those. And I want to touch on 3. Granit Xhaka, when he comes back, is one of them, obviously. But the other two I want to touch on and get your opinions on is Pepe and Martinelli, because they need football, Graham. They're not getting the minutes that I think that they would like to see. But when they were given the chance against Leeds, I thought both of them were pretty disappointing, if I'm honest with you. So what do you make of these 3 players, and how do they get back into this side for you?
The Granit Xhaka thing is interesting, isn't it? Because he's going to be out for a long while, the knee injury. So I think this team is moving away from Granit Xhaka. That's what I honestly think. The thing is, Arteta does love Xhaka, and our win percentage with Xhaka in the team is slightly higher. I think if we want to play this way, where we're on the front foot and to be a press-resistant team and to play the way we're playing, fast, dynamic football with energy, I can't see how Granit Xhaka fits into that. The way, look, I get the argument that he's a good footballer. Harry Simu, our mate Harry, bless him, Harry. He loves Granit, doesn't he? And
he does.
he should be answering this question, not me, because he would justify. I think that Xhaka does have a role in the team. I think the benefits of Xhaka are his experience. He understands positional play. And he can hold his position. But for all that, the team has now moved away in a different style of play. You could argue that Xhaka's sitting allows Partey to go forward more as a number 8 and break play up and to be even better than he is. But I would argue that Lokonga can do that as well. I've watched Lokonga. He can sit at 6. He can go forward at 8. They seem to rotate those 2 players in central midfield quite comfortably. And I think Lokonga did an excellent job defensively on Tielemans against Leicester. So, I've got no fears about Lokonga. I mean, he was captain at Anderlecht at 18, come in, and I think he looks really good now. So I can see us moving away from Granit Xhaka. So, and I think this team is already on the pitch moving away from Granit Xhaka. Obviously, you asked me where I can see him getting back in the team. Well, the answer is obvious, because we've got the African Cup of Nations coming up in January.
Yep.
And so we lose Partey, don't we? So he will come back into the team. Worries me, and it's not that I'm saying Granit Xhaka weakens us as he is as a footballer. I don't mean like that, disrespecting that way. I just think he's not as good as Partey. Can he do what Partey does? And there'll be a lot more pressure on Lokonga then to be what Partey now is. So, and where we're going to go into the market, I don't know. Probably not. So, look, I think that he will get back into the team in January, because at the moment he gets fit again. I think his first game he's available for is January the 1st against Man City, which is ironically was the game where he got sent off that led to him getting a ban. But the thing for me, Xhaka makes too many mistakes. Me and you agree on this. He literally, for all his qualities, he's made more errors leading to goal than any player in the Premier League, I think, the last few years. And he's been sent off too much, which puts pressure on his teammates, But they do love Granit Xhaka. Apparently, he's well liked on the training ground. He's a leader, and he is an experienced player. So I'm not totally dissing him. I don't mean it to come across that way. I thought we were looking to move on from Granit Xhaka in the summer, and we were trying to get offloading to Roma. He was even learning Italian, and Jose Mourinho was courting him, wasn't he? So I thought he was going, to be honest, and then we could transition more away from him. But we couldn't get the right money for him to come back. And I think Arteta still sees a role for him at the club. So he will come back in, I think, when Partey goes to the African Cup of Nations. Now, like you, I'm very disappointed the way Martinelli is being used at the moment. I think I don't want Martinelli to be in a position where he feels he's got no future at the club and that's my worry at the moment, because I think some fans think he's overrated. I don't. I think he's a really talented player.
Mm.
I think we just got to find a way of using him, and I see him more as a left coming in from the left hand side, and I think how can he get back in the team? Obviously, I think he'll play the League Cup games. I still think that when the fixtures get over between December and January, there's more games. We'll be playing more games. I think he'll get an opportunity around then. But it does worry me when Mikel Arteta brings him on with 1 minute to go. I can't see the point of that. It does worry me that Mikel Arteta, but having said that, he was coming back from an injury. So I still see him as having a future at the club. I still think he'll come into the team. And you've got to remember our forwards like Aubameyang and Lacazette are now the wrong side of 30. So we're being linked with new forwards in Italy and Spain this week. But I think Martinelli being so young, his time will come. Just think he's got to be patient. But I just wish Arteta would use him better. I think that's the thing for me. Nicolas Pepe, me and you both agree. I think he's a great player, but I just don't think the frustrating thing about him is he didn't take his chance against Leeds, and as you said in your AFTV interview, bang on. And he hasn't looked great this season. I think he ended last season really well, didn't he? And he is a goal for it. He is a goal for it, no doubt about it. I don't think we're getting the best out of him the way we're playing on that right-hand side, hugging the touchline. I want to see him come more inside. But again, I think at the moment his route back into the team is looking more blocked than the other two players, for the simple reason that Saka and Smith Rowe grabbed their chance in those wide areas. But football's a funny game, and much the same way as Tierney got injured, that led to an opening for Tavares, and he's come in and grabbed it. It only needs somebody to get an injury, and he'd come back in, wouldn't he? He's always going to be on the fringes of selection. If he can come back in and sort of like put in some good performances, he'll stay in the team. So, but at the moment, all three look as though they're not part of Arteta's first 11. I think we've seen over the last few weeks, this is his preferred 11. The only real debate for me is Odegaard or Lacazette, and I think he's going to use them strategically in certain games. Lacaz's going to be playing them as part of a two, but if we're away from home and he wants more of a midfield presence, someone to break a press, he wants three in midfield, he'll play Odegaard. So, or he could even sort of like rotate Smith Rowe and Odegaard, couldn't he? So, but I think that the 11 that we got on the pitch at the moment, the last few games, I think at the moment that is close to his preferred 11. So, in answer to your question, in a nutshell, Xhaka gets back in January. Martinelli probably has got to be patient. Pepe, I think at the moment, is probably of the three looking the hardest route back into the team.
Yeah, and I can't disagree, Graham. I think Granit Xhaka is definitely in Mikel Arteta's plans long term and for now. I think when he does come back from injury, we saw straight away that he got back into the side against Spurs, where a lot of people said that he probably didn't deserve to be after his 3-game suspension at Manchester City. We know he's a favourite of Mikel Arteta, so I do expect to see Granit Xhaka in this first 11 moving forward once he's fit. As for Pepe, I actually prefer him on the left, or I wouldn't mind seeing him in this new formation to replace Lacazette, because I think out of all of the players on the bench, he's probably one of the only ones that can actually allow the ball to stick to him more than Martinelli, Aubameyang and Ødegaard. I think he can actually hold the ball up a little bit better than some of the others, so I'd like to see him used in more in that role if they was to get some minutes. As for Martinelli, I'm a little bit agreeing with you in terms of how he's being used by Mikel Arteta, but I think long term he could actually be a forward. I really do. The goals he scored under Unai Emery were actually coming from a striker role. He got 10 in his first season against most of them come in the League Cup, and then a couple in the league. We saw that amazing run that he did against Chelsea, and everyone thought it was going to be the next best thing. There was no Saka or throw back then, if you remember. So I think Martinelli is definitely a talent. As for Pepe, I'd like to see him more in and around the box more than that, stuck out on the wing and isolated, and with players, he drags over there. He's definitely a goal threat though, and I think that he is a player that we do need. And like you say, Graham, rightly so, Martin Ødegaard, Pepe, Martinelli, and of course in the midfield battle with Granit Xhaka and Lokonga, we do need a squad. You can't just have 11 players. So this is a good thing for Mikel Arteta that we've got competition for places finally, because I don't think we have had that as much over the last couple of seasons. So certainly the playing squad has improved, and we're starting to see results on the pitch now. So that for me would be are kind of in a nutshell of what Mikel Arteta is doing currently, and I can't say that I'm too far wrong really with what he is doing, because we're winning football games, and that's all I care about. Moving into the score predictions then, Graham, before we do wrap up, let's come to you first. What do you think the score will be tomorrow in the Arsenal versus Watford game?
I think it's vital we get a win tomorrow to take into the international break. We could, funny enough, go into the international break. If we win tomorrow, with the fact that Man City are playing Man United, for example, I think is that a lunchtime kickoff today, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
So I think if we win tomorrow, we could easily go from after the first international break, where we were bottom of the table with no points, no goals, to I think possibly around top four, which is hard to believe, isn't it? In a few months.
Unbelievable.
I think we will get the result tomorrow. I think we'll take Watford tomorrow. I'm going to predict a 3-1 Arsenal win, mate.
Like it. I love the optimism, mate. There's some good games this weekend, like you say, Graham. Manchester City and Man United in the derby. Everton have got Spurs. Liverpool got West Ham. So in and around us, there's some very, very tricky games. So I'm with you. I think it's vital that we win. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Arsenal win. I fancy another 2-0 Arsenal win. I think that there's going to be a clean sheet again. I do think they've got threats in King, Dennis and Sarr, like you say, and we've already touched on why. But I do think that our defences look so much better. Obviously, the back five, if you include Ramsdale, has definitely improved the side. And I really fancy a 2-0 win tomorrow. I think Aubameyang's going to have a very good day. As you've mentioned him, I think it's good timing, really, that you picked him today, because I agree with you. I think Aubameyang's going to be very, very good. And I'm going for a 2-0 Arsenal victory. And believe it or not, Graham, we'll go into the international break looking like we could actually be in and around the mix for top four, which I just didn't see happening 3 games into this season. So it is going to be very, very good if we get the 3 points tomorrow. Graham, I've really enjoyed this, mate. It's been an absolutely brilliant first show. I love having you on, love talking football, and that 45 minutes has absolutely flown, mate. So me and you are going to be doing this regularly, mate, on Saturdays.
No injury time today. No, look, thanks for inviting me on. It's been fantastic. I think look, it's great to be back doing these shows with you again. I know we're going to develop more graphics, hopefully, and more pictures, and obviously couldn't get it on side at the moment, but I know we want to try and develop and make it the best content we can. If people want to put in the comments anything that they want us to do, or to, we look at that and consider that and try and make it the best we can. The important thing is that people enjoy it and get value out of it. And if people think they want it shorter, they want it longer, or whatever they want, we look at that as well. But as ever, I love talking to you, Dan. I love the work you do. The way you're building the channel, Lead Job, is a fantastic channel. Always respect your opinions, mate. I think your opinions are very valid on Arsenal, and I think there's I love working with you, because I think you're great at what you do, a fantastic host, and it's great that this channel at least developing is taken off now, and I'm really pleased to be part of it, and looking forward to these shows during the season, mate.
Well, Graham, it's an absolute pleasure having you on, mate, and I'm looking forward to doing these Saturday morning shows with you, because I think it's great to preview the game. I know we do a preview and can normally get an opposition fan on the Thursday night, but I thought it would be something a little bit different to get your analysis on the things moving forward. So I really appreciate that, mate. And there's over 250 there was at one stage watching live, which is great numbers. So if you can all smash the like button, if you like what me and Graham are doing, please, like Graham says, please comment. We'll always try and reply, or we'll always listen to what your thoughts are. And we'll have an international break, and then we'll be back to look forward to more Arsenal content. So big up everybody in the chat. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time, guys.